What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You got the almighty DJ CJ Flash back with a brand new live episode of I Remember That Song. Here to tell you all about it is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jerry Dub.
Yeah. That's me, dog. Dominus Ominous to you, my friend. How you doing, brother?
Man, you'll find out how I'm doing.
I already know, man. We've been talking with our guests for like the last 7 or 8 minutes, and CJ's head is spinning. He's got a little exorcist action going on tonight. So it's going to be a great show, folks. We got a legend with us tonight. Got a legend. And we got the crew here tonight, too. But before we get to that point, I'm Jerry Dove. As CJ Flash said, you are watching IRTS Live every Tuesday at 7:05 p.m. Pacific. Me and my friends sitting around talk about music and what it means to us. Let's bring in some of my friends right now. I see Mr. Russell Gatewood is right here. How you doing, Big Russ?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic, trying to get better. D Minor is here too, but he's not. He's in his job. So I'm going to wait till he's actually on his camera. Ryan Nicole has got to go do some school shopping for her little man tonight. So she may or may not pop back in, but we got more than enough people to take care of this business tonight, man. You want to see this shirt I'm wearing? You want to see this?
Yeah. What you got?
Check this out.
Let me see.
Ooh.
Oh, night.
Night. Night. Thank you to Siobhan Jennings. I asked her to make that for me, and she did that from the Ultimate Gift on Facebook. She can do anything you want. Got a little nice. Eiffel Tower on this side here. Paris 2024. Yeah. So night in French.
I love that.
I like it too. What you got on tonight, Russ? I know you always got a good T-shirt.
I do.
Let's see.
See what you did there. I see what you did there.
We were already talking to our guest about his time with Steely Dan, so that's going to be a great story. CJ Flash, you got your Negro Leagues hat on tonight. You can see that.
Yeah.
But more than anything else, you got your spirit in with you tonight. You got that Earth, Wind, and Fire vibe going on tonight, like when we did that show. So man. I'm excited for you, brother. I'm excited for you, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Without further ado, let's bring our guests up here, okay? Let me do this proper introduction. Here we go. I never am ready for this part. I don't know why. There it is. Okay. All right. Tonight, we welcome a legend and considered by many to be one of the finest drummers of all time. His name is Dennis Chambers. He's a child prodigy, and he was working, in parentheses, in clubs at the age of 6. I was just starting to learn how to put sentences together at 6 years old. So at the age of 18, he joined Parliament Funkadelic. Dennis was a house drummer for the Sugar Hill Records. And throughout his career, he's worked with David Sanborn, the Brecker Brothers, George Duke, Stanley Clarke, Shaka Khan, Steely Dan, Santana, John McLaughlin, and so many more. I can't say no more except to bring this man in and say hello to Mr. Dennis Chambers. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for doing the show. You're back east, right?
Yeah, I'm in Baltimore.
You know, I got family in Odenton and Columbia, Maryland.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not that far.
I know. We've been to Baltimore. They took us up to the harbor and had some lunch.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, I always tell them Columbia looks like it's such a beautiful city. You could eat off the ground in Columbia. I don't know what they're doing up there, but it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it is.
So thank you for doing the show. We want to thank Tony Lindsay for bringing you in. Because he's the one who said you might do this. I reached out. You said yes. So thank you very much again. CJ Flash is a big drum fan. Big Russ is a big drum fan. We got a lot of folks that hit me up during the week and told me they're big drummers fans. So we only got to deal with Barack and Michelle Obama tonight. So we're going to give them something, something to watch. They can record Barack and Michelle, and we're going to entertain them here tonight, right? All right. So let's start with this. First of all, I saw in your bio that you were working in clubs. That's what it said. At the age of 6. Was it like the Mickey Mouse Club, or where you at, man? What's going on?
It was a jazz club. This place called the Peyton Place. It was on Pennsylvania Avenue here in Baltimore, right downtown in Baltimore. That was one of the places. But then there was the Royal Theater where all the celebrities would play. But at that time, I was with a band called the Fingertips, who had a drummer in the band. So I was like sort of like a little novelty thing or something they added on. how that happened was one day the bass player, his name was Rat. I can't remember his last name, but he was the band leader, and he was driving home from work one day, and he heard some drums going on as he was like in traffic. Pulled the car over, followed the drums, knocked on the door. My mother answered the door, and he asked, "Is there a drummer in the house?"
Mm.
And she said, "Yeah, it's my son." And he said, "Asked, could he see me?" And then when she brought him into the room, he couldn't believe what he was seeing and hearing.
Wow.
And I was playing. Well, how I learned how to play basically was like just playing off of records. That's basically how I got how to play, just playing behind records, which to me is probably one of the best lessons because I'm basically learning from the best, and I'm sitting there trying to emulate that stuff, which is for somebody who's trying to understand time and grooves and stuff. I'm learning from the best. I'm listening to the guys right off the records, James Brown, Al Jackson, from the Stax recordings.
Yeah.
All the Motown guys, But a lot of people don't know, or they may know, I don't know. Pretty much how I started was, my mom was a background singer for Motown for a very short time.
Wow.
And at that time, when she was there, I was living with my grandma. She didn't like, or she hated Motown. She didn't like what it offered there, and came back to Baltimore. And she put a band together. The band would rehearse at my mom's house, and I can still see the drums. It was a great champagne sparkle kit. It was a 4-piece, and the guy's name was Booney, I think.
Booney.
Yeah. Wow. Now, for me at that age, now I'm like maybe 3.5 years old, right? So I'm watching this, and that was the only thing that would keep me still because I was a kind of fidgety guy. In fact, that's how I got the name Dennis, because my real name is Milton.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, don't laugh.
Me too.
But it was Milton. And, Dennis, I was a little menace, when I was small and stuff. And like being busy and getting, kids in trouble. Some kids like had limbs broken, following behind me. And
Not your fault. Not your fault.
Yeah.
They make their own decisions.
So you had a Mr. Wilson in town, huh?
Yeah. So,
Hey, now let me go ahead. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
So, when the band would practice, I was mesmerized because I'm seeing these gold round things. They look like flying saucers, which were the cymbals, and the sound it was making, and I'm sitting there watching how the drummer play and how he hold the sticks and all of that. So when the drummer would leave, I would pick up, like anything I can hold on to and try to emulate what the drummer was doing. My parents brought me a kit when I was 4. And I just basically just learned by just watching that drummer, Booney, play and listening to records. My mom was such a fan of music. She would have all types of music around. So one minute she's listening to Motown, next minute she's listening to Sarah Vaughan. Next minute she's James Brown and all the soul groups back at that time. And then every now and then she'll play some big band music, So I thought in order to become a musician, you have to learn how to play all these different styles. And that explains my background as far as, like what I'm into nowadays, which is like I'm always playing back and forth across the fence. 1 minute I'm playing with, Steely Dan. The next minute I'm playing with P-Funk. The next minute I'm playing with John McLaughlin. Stanley Clark, George Duke, Chick Corea. Next minute I'm playing with the Buddy Rich Big Band. So that explains that. It was just the background I had listening to all that different music. As I got older, growing older, playing in clubs, then I learned that the jazz guys didn't like the funk guys. And the funk guys definitely And the jazz guys, funk and jazz guys, didn't like the rock guys. But I looked at it; it was all the same. Because I'm looking at my heroes, and they were black. These black beautiful musicians who were like really like killing it. And also, I mean, back at that time, I remember, FM stations weren't even available then. It was just everything was on AM. And in Baltimore, they had 2 or 3 radio stations, black stations. One was called Webb, WEBB, which James Brown used to own.
Right.
And
That's right.
And that's how I met James Brown, in fact. Yeah.
All right, let me get in here, Dennis, because we got so many questions just on that first opening statement there. But let me go back to the nice America where somebody could just knock on your mama's door and she let him in the house. That just is not gonna happen no more, right? So
No, a lot of that stuff. I mean, like me going across town to rehearsal. I'm like 8 years old. I'm getting on a bus and going to rehearsal. Those days are gone, man.
Yeah, they are.
It's such an innocent, beautiful time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Those days are gone. You can't even trust your kids sitting on the porch now or sitting on some steps.
Right.
And then let's give a big round of applause. Your parents for buying a 4-year-old busy kid a set of drums.
Man.
Milton.
Where's Milton? It don't matter. You can hear him. He's back there. You have any brothers or sisters?
I have one brother and one sister.
Okay, so they were around at the same time. Were they musically inclined as well? Did you have your own little band going?
Yeah, my sister, she's a singer. Well, she used to sing, and she was really good, man. Really good. But she, had some kids, and she just gave it up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So one more thing I'm gonna do, fellas, and then I'm gonna let the fellas jump in. Gotta talk about the show and where you can watch us because Ryan's not here. I almost forgot, like I always do. Make sure you check out IRTS Live on YouTube at IRTS Space Show. While you're there, hit the subscribe button. It's for free, and you can catch up all the shows that you missed over the years. We've been doing this now as of the 18th. 2 days ago. We've been doing this for 6 years. How about that?
Wow.
And so we got a lot of shows on there, a lot of great guests. I'll run a little scroll a little bit later so you can see all the different guests that we've had on over the years. We got Dennis Chambers with us tonight. We'll shout out some of our people in the chat already. Tony Lindsay is here because, again, he's the one who brought us together. So we got to shout out Tony Lindsay. Fellas, help me out if you want to. Kim Batiste is right there. She says her daily vitamin. Tracy Lawrence is here.
Hey,
Saw Michael last week at the San Jose Jazz. Good to see you here, Michael. Ron is here from Detroit. Siobhan made me the shirt is right here. Charles Hughes, once again representing Southern California, and is in LA. So again, if you come on in, make sure you put your name in the chat and tell us what city you're from so we can give you a shout out. Okay, fellas, you go at it.
I don't even know where to begin.
Well, if I can just ask a simple question, Dennis. So being that you from Bmore, did you at all cross any paths with Raymond Calhoun, who eventually who was with the Manhattans and later famously known for the Gap Band? Or did you ever run into Glenn Leonard, formerly of the Temptations? Were any of those guys around in your circumference?
Yeah, I met Raymond a long time ago. In fact, I met Raymond when he was with the Gap Band. That's when I met him.
Okay.
As far as I can remember. The Temptation guys. I remember Damien.
Damon. Yeah.
He was with a band called the Vandals, or it was one of those bands way back then.
With Billy Griffin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the vocalist that sang with the Miracles. He was from
Billy Griffin.
Billy Griffin.
Okay.
Billy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those guys were, I was with a band called the IBMs at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Independent Black Men in Song.
I beat them.
Okay, Russ.
I was with them, and we used to play, some shows with those guys.
Yeah.
But I met them in passing. I didn't really get to know them, because I was too busy, trying to finish homework and get to practice,
Yeah.
and trying to stay out of trouble.
Regionally, did you have any go-go influence?
Yep. Yeah, I also played with Chuck Brown for.
I did not know that. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah, back then, this drummer name, I think it's Milton, but I can't. His name was Milton.
Another Milton?
He was the drummer, and I just ran into him. Come to find out, he was related to the drummer that played with Miles Davis.
What period?
Which era?
Yeah.
Right before he died.
Oh wow.
Oh,
okay.
in the Foley's band.
Yeah, Foley band.
Was that Omar? Omar wasn't in that band, was he?
No.
Who was that cat who played with? That was Daryl Jones, Foley,
Kenny Garrett was there too, Russ?
Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny was
on,
somebody in the chat to help us out. Somebody in the
Kirkland was
chat.
on keys. Kirkland was on keys.
Mm-hmm.
Who was in that band?
Who was the drummer?
Somebody in the chat will look it up. Look it up.
Maybe Tony would know.
Tony's in the chat. We're waiting on you, Tony Lindsay. Let's go.
Yeah, because he was with Santana there for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
All right, so look, we had a lot to talk about. Let's get some music going. How about that? And then that'll take us even deeper into this. So CJ Flash, I don't even know what you're going to start out with because you've been working on this all week. So
it's a curveball day. I'm just throwing nothing but curves.
Okay,
all right,
let's go.
We're going to start off like this.
And our funky drummer, Mr. Dennis Chambers. Yeah, our drummer, Mr. Dennis Chambers.
It's a 10-minute solo.
Hey.
But I see what you did there, Flash, by mixing those two. I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
10-minute solo. John
You should
McLaughlin.
check out. There's a record I did with Steve Kahn and Anthony Jackson. It's a live recording.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those there's a song in there. I could not believe they allowed the drum solo to be that long. Normally they edit the drum solos.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They used the whole drum solo in entirety, where I think that thing must have went on for like 15 minutes or something.
Mm.
All right, we got three guesses on the band. The drummer was Miles. So Stephanie Jackson, SMJ says Jimmy Cobb,
No, this is he was a younger guy.
Later,
Tony Williams.
No.
He was
Tony
Very
Lindsay says Ricky Wellman.
Ricky Wallman. That's who it is.
All right, Tony Lindsay, you get the prize. You
Get a mouse pad.
You get the yes and a pin. I'll put it in the mail for you. All right.
That intro that you stole right there, Flash, that was incredible. It was from a Parliament Live record that and man, that is just I can put that on and just roll with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous what you guys came up with on that record, because it's hard to contain that group they all bounced around you. You know, you were like the fishbone, the backbone, and everything else was just splintering off. But that particular configuration of the group, they all rallied around you, and you kept it in check. And it came out to be a really good Parliament Live recording. They're all not that good. That one is really good.
Is that the double album?
Yeah, that's the P-Funk All Stars at Beverly Theater in Hollywood.
Yeah,
I think I got that one.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of tapes of bootleg tapes.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah,
Don't tell me that.
Ooh.
In fact, I have to send Doug Wimbish, the bass player, for Living Color.
Oh wow.
He was around some of that. He was around at that time when we were doing those tours. And I still have some of those tapes, and every now and then I go back and listen to it.
Now you joined Parliament at 18.
That record too, which is like Bootsy's set.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There was
You
a
joined
song.
Parliament at 18, and this is the only picture I could find.
Yeah.
So that looks like you just in regular clothes there. So what was your outfit with the group? Did you have a diaper on? Come on, Dennis, tell us.
Oh no, I didn't go that far. I think the wildest I got, I came out with some Speedo. Well, they weren't Speedos then, but I came out with some underwear. Meanwhile, I'm competing with guys who came out like totally naked. You know, like George came out in the spaceship one night.
Yeah.
Just nothing but a sheet. You know, with them sitting down the middle, and you know, from where I sit, I'm like right behind them because the drums are right behind the ladder of the mothership. And he comes out, and all I see is a cape. I thought it was a cape, but come to find out, it was a sheet. He had it behind his back, and he's standing there, and things dangling. You know?
That's an awful image of a silhouette for 2.5 hours.
And I look down on the floor, and I can see everybody. You know, like the guitarist and the bass player, which is Rodney P. Curtis, the guy who got me in P-Funk.
Yeah.
They're laughing so hard. I think somebody had they almost knocked over the amp wall back then. We had a serious amp wall. They almost knocked it over, like laughing at him. He just standing there like he's cool, you know.
That sounds like the tale from the tour bus story.
I got to tell you the story to let up to that. One night,
Okay.
the mothership came down on fire. Because back then they were using real lights. They weren't LEDs like what they're using now. And the thing came down on fire. I'm trying to throw a drumstick in the staircase because George is in there, you know, getting himself zooted up or whatever have you. And the stick goes in. He picks it up. He turns around. And I'm telling him to look up while I'm playing. And he's giving me the P-Funk sign. You know? And I'm like, man, look up. You know, he looks up. And he sees this thing, and now it's coming down slowly because they're trying to figure out what to do with it. Okay, so the staircase, once you're in that staircase, you're locked out from the outside. He has no way of getting out of it other than jump up and climb out of it. Right. So imagine you're sitting in the audience and you see the spaceship come down, you see fire going, and the audience is going nuts. And the next thing you know, you see somebody's head at the top of the staircase. And then he pulls himself up, you see like, you know, some arms and so he gets his one leg over the staircase. And he's giving the P-Funk sign, and everybody's looking up looking up at the mothership, and they're looking at him and looking back up. He jumps or whatever have you. The suit ripped off kinda, and he fell, came down on it, knocked himself out, and he kind of ripped the one piece leotard suit off.
Yeah, and
he's laying upside down, and he's got this little things hanging there, and. The girls in the audience, and they look and they pointing and they going like,
damn! Oh, so much for the Big Bang Theory.
In his defense, he did so much stuff, stuff that
shrinkage.
He was in his right mind. Let's put it that way. And back in them days, like the hotel was always like the lobby is always sold out with a lot of ladies, And after that show was over with, we get back to the hotel and the lobby is like dry. I think the only lady that was there, she was behind the desk. And it was like that for like almost a month. Damn. And George, he's making it known like, oh man, I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you guys, make it up, blah blah blah. And we're like, yeah, whatever, dude. I mean, because he never stayed at the same hotel with us anyway, right? So one night at the Apollo Theater, that night when he came out naked, he was in the staircase pulling on himself, to represent. the thing comes up, and there he is standing there naked, and he's standing there like Superman with his fists on his hips.
Mm-hmm.
And he make a little move, and the girls are like freaking out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after that, the lobbies were filled with women. After that, so,
Wow.
Man, where the police at, man?
oh, man, look, man, they were, when I joined that band, every night I swore I thought we were going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
They were always doing some crazy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like
Oh,
smoking on the stage, giving each other shotguns on stage. Then we had this skull. I think the skull was like two or three stories high, and they put this gigantic joint in his mouth and light it.
Mm-hmm.
It was always some crazy stuff, that was going on around that band. And I think that's what kept me there all those years, because you go to sleep laughing, you wake up laughing.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff I can't mention, because I changed the name to protect the innocent.
Right.
Statute of limitations is
Statute
past.
of
You're good.
limitations.
You're clear.
Mm-hmm. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Well,
You-
it's funny. JT Taylor from Kool and the Gang had said a story once. He said they were performing at a show, and they had a similar situation with one of their instruments getting caught on fire. And he said the keyboard player was playing too hot. So they said the keyboard literally was too hot. So hot that it caught on fire. So everybody's thinking it's part of the show. And he's like, we're just slowly going the other way.
That's funny.
And we
did the band keep playing while the mothership was on fire, or did you guys just keep going? Or?
Yeah, we just kept playing.
Oh wow!
It was just a matter of, once the road crew once they figure out like they have to shoot off the CO2s, which cooled down the stage anyway.
okay.
Kind of put out the fire, and whatever that was still on fire, they would take a fire extinguisher and put it out.
Damn.
Still kept on going, man.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Flash. What else you got? Go ahead.
All right, curveball.
Yeah.
I keep going. I keep going. I keep going. Don't you give up? I keep going. I keep going. I keep going. Don't you give up? I keep going. I keep going. I keep going. Don't you give up? I keep going. I keep going. I keep going. We're gonna bump right on up. We're gonna bump you 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 right on up. We're gonna bump
Oh yeah.
right on up.
I should mention before we get started on this, you spent 7 years with Parliament Funkadelic, and then you spent a few years with the Sugar Hill Records. You were the house drummer, and that's about what I can talk about. Your hip hop, your life in hip hop.
How that happened was Sugar Hill Gang was on tour with P-Funk opening for us. The band was Doug Wimbish. The drummer name is Keith LeBlanc. The guitar player's name is Skip McDonald, I think his last name was. But anyway, we became good friends, and I think they had a problem with Keith, and Keith had a problem with the organization, and then they just brought me right into it, So I, when I was off with P-Funk or my downtime, I would go to Inglewood, New Jersey, to record with the Sugar Hill Company. Yeah. So in that, it was a lot of people, a lot of groups that Doug and I, or the rhythm section and I, would record for, and a lot of those groups I don't even remember anymore, but I do remember Sequence, and I definitely remember Sugar Hill Gang because I had to tour with them. And back at that time, the rappers, man, they all hated each other. I mean, there was a lot of fights going on the buses when we were on tour,
Really?
Doug Wimbish told me, he said he remembered a baseball bat going past his head, keeping his head out, from the bunk area, and it was really crazy time, for those for the rap industry. I don't know how it all became together, or how it all came together where they became peaceful and start loving each other. But in the beginning, it was rough.
You think maybe some of it might have had to do with the Rapper's Delight song, and maybe it was just not the representation of what hip hop was at that time.
Yeah.
You think
And
that might have been
also
something?
the early groups were very regional.
Yeah.
You know, they were all borough centric, and they were beefing. You know, they were competing against each other by borough as well.
Yeah. Yeah. They were definitely competing. And I could not understand, Sugar Hill label, it was a bunch of acts on it. And yet they're all presenting, they're representing, the company, but yet they hated each other.
Yeah.
What did you think about hip hop? You were there at the very beginning. What did you think about it?
Well, at that time, it was I didn't think much of it, because it was pretty much they were just taking something that was already there, music wise. And still, I mean, today's music is sort of like that. I mean, you listen to anything new and you hear some, something
It's a derivative.
Borrowed from what they call old school.
Did you
At
think
least that's like in Baltimore, and every time I travel, if and when I do listen to radio, that's what I hear.
Did you think that hip hop would last as long as it did?
No.
Being that you were there? No.
I thought it was just a phase.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
So was that the only time you were working with hip? I mean, we'll talk about it obviously throughout the show, but was that the only time you worked with the hip hop folks, or did you have you done it throughout the years?
No, I was working with Dr. Dre.
Oh, okay.
And recording for his artists or somebody he's producing.
Was this
were you actually on like retainer with Aftermath, or you were just in the production house?
No, I was just in the production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your reputation had people looking for you, right? That had worked.
Yeah.
You must have had a great manager too, because he kept you busy. He or she kept you very busy.
No, I don't have a manager.
Stop it.
Yeah, I did it all. I did it myself. But it was just, calls coming in, and I would just, pick and choose what I wanted to do. And I did that and kept it moving. But I did take advice from, people who made deals. Would represent other artists that made deals. Would get some information from them. How to make my deals with some of these people. Such with Santana when I did that. So.
Hey, you're watching IRTS Live. It's Tuesday. It's time for us. We got Dennis Chambers with us. He's already told us some great stories and he's going to tell us a whole lot more. Stay with us throughout the night. We're talking to the legendary Dennis Chambers. We got the legendary CJ Flash with us, the legendary D Minor, the legendary Big Russ, and I'm Dominus Ominous. I'm not too bad myself. Keep that music going, Flash.
Let's dance. I know you got the fever. Let's dance.
Yeah.
Come on, look it down. Let's dance. I know you got the fever. Let's dance. Come on, look it down. Let's dance. I know you got the fever. Let's dance. Come on, look it down. Let's dance. I know you got the fever. Let's dance. Come on, look it down.
That was pretty funky.
Sugar Hill Company, man, they had some unbelievable talented musicians that a lot of people didn't get a chance to know. Like case in point, like the Police's horn section, or the horn section that was there. Those guys ended up working with the Police.
Wow.
And the saxophone player, Daryl Dixon, he was the saxophone player that played on Flashlight. Did the solo on Flashlight. And then you have Doug Wimbish, the guy who brought me into the whole mess there. Doug is really unbelievable talented musician. Great bass player. He kind of remind me of a little bit of Marcus. He's got a little bit of everybody in him, But I always felt that that rhythm section was better than more talented than the company, you know. And that's why Doug ended up, you know, he's the bass player right now for Living Color.
Yeah.
But he also played with Jagger in his band, and he also played with Jeff Beck in his band.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was all over that, especially all over that Sugar Hill stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the main on Jagger's. It was in the '80s. Yeah, late '80s, the solo project.
Yeah. Yeah. He was trying to get me in on all of that stuff, quiet as it was kept. But it didn't work out. So
you didn't have the time. You didn't have the time, man.
no, well, not only that, they had, you know, like case in point, like with Jeff Beck, they had Simon Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't think Doug knew Simon Phillips at that time. And he's telling Simon about me, and I already knew about Simon's reputation, you know, from Stanley Clark's band. You know,
Right. Was there any truth to actually Doug being in? They were going to try to put him in Power Station.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some like it hot.
Yeah.
Wow. Just the names keep dropping. I know I'm hosting the show and I'm trying to keep my momentum going, but every time you drop a name, I'm writing it down. I gotta ask about that. Gotta ask about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here for a little while, man. So
I told you.
So you mentioned Marcus Miller, which always makes me think of David Sanborn. And I know you did some work with David Sanborn.
Yeah.
One of my favorite saxophone players, rest in peace, just passed recently.
Yeah.
Marcus Miller is a bad boy.
Man.
Tell me about your time with those two guys, man.
Well, let's see. I first met Marcus Miller when he was his first tour with Lenny White. That band was called
29.
29. Yeah, but I think it was before that though. I think it was just called the Lenny White Band, and then it became 29. That was back in the Astro Pirates days, right? That's when I met Marcus. But I didn't get a chance to play with him until on a Bernard Wright's record.
There you go.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then turned around and did something with him with Don Blackman on the Family Tradition record, which they took him off actually. For some crazy, stupid reason, they took him off because the track he played, man, he sounded like he owned it. You know, it sounded like he wrote it. You know, and then it turned around later. I did something with him on a David Sanborn record called "The Change of Heart." I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big record.
Yeah,
Which I didn't get any credit on it, but I got the gold record in the other room there.
That was a gold record. That Chicago song,
Yeah.
The Dream. There's so many songs on that record.
Intent.
Yeah.
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 Great.
I'm surprised it's not platinum. That was a huge record.
Yeah.
That was a huge record.
My brother plays that album like once a week. Like if you get in his car, he's either playing Tina Marie or he's playing David Sanborn, straight to the heart. You know,
I saw David before he got out of here. And I had a little house fire back in 2020, which kind of destroyed this house. So they had to rebuild it, you know, and rebuild the inside. So I thought the tapes I'm a big collector, you know, on tapes. I got tapes on everybody, right? The tapes, I used to get all the tapes from the shows every night with David and so with Steely Dan. I got some stuff with Steely down there. You guys will cringe over. And P-Funk.
I know, Russ.
But I had these tapes and I thought they got burnt up or destroyed, you know, in the fire. When I saw David last, he was playing at this place called Ram's Head down in Annapolis, Maryland. And I kept, you know, bugging him about these tapes, you know, like, man, if you got those tapes, you know, with me playing with you, I would love to have them. I mean, because once David get his hands on tapes and once it gets to his house, it goes into the black hole at that point. You never see these tapes again. So I asked him to go look for it, and he said he would. And I don't think he ever did. And after he died, I mean, shortly right after he died, I went down in that basement and I opened this one box up, and the tapes were sitting right there on the top, out of like thousands of tapes I have down there. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Wow.
In good shape?
In good shape, yeah.
Nice.
So you must have like your own studio at your house? You must.
I don't have it at this house.
Okay.
In my first house, I had a studio and I was a slave to it.
So you
I don't
spent a lot of time in there just messing around, right?
No, I it was like at that time I was touring with 4 different bands, and when I finally had time to come home and relax, I'm in the studio. I used to have this mail slot down there, so I come home, I take a day or 2 off, and then I would go downstairs and pull out tapes from a mail slot system and pop the tape in and record, send the tape back, and cash the check. In fact, the only time I had to go outside is when I was going to the bank to cash the check.
Nice, very convenient.
Or I remember there was a lot of nights or a lot of mornings I would say I'll tell my wife I'm not going to be down there this long. I'm just going to go and cut a few tracks. Next thing I know, I come upstairs and she's on her way to work.
Damn.
I swore I would never do that again. But who knew? I didn't know COVID was going to happen. None of us knew COVID was going to happen.
Yeah.
This would have been the best time to have a studio.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now,
Flash.
when I have to cut tracks, I have to go to a buddy of mine's house.
And now it's all computerized, so you just send it boom right away, and you can cash your check with your phone.
Yeah.
So you don't have to leave the house for nothing now, right? Yeah. All right, Flash, keep it going, bro.
You spoke about that Bernard Wright album, man. Damn. Wait, before we talk about anything, you talked about the Don Blackman album too.
Since I see so many smiling faces, I'm gonna sing this song for you. Yet I've been so
Yeah, somewhere in this house, I have the outtakes of that stuff too.
Oh, damn.
All right, so we've narrowed it down to Baltimore, fellas. We at least we know where to start trying to find this house. We've narrowed it down to Baltimore. So man,
I tell you, man, I feel like an idiot because I love playing air drums. I'm never playing air drums again, bro. I can't do it anymore.
Can't follow him.
Nope, can't do it.
I love the smile that song put on your face when you heard it. Just like as much as you've done, and to still see the joy in the song that you did years and years ago. That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, see, my mind goes back to the studio and the guys, the artists, who became like brothers to me, and they're no longer here.
Right.
Yeah.
Bernard got out of here, and Don got out of here.
Not on it.
Yeah.
What was Bernard? What was Bernard like in the studio, and as far as his ideas and process, and what was he like as a person?
He was a very troubled soul, and he had a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
He's seen he experienced a lot of things at a very young age,
Right?
That he shouldn't have experienced. But as a player, the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
He was a genius, and if you ever look at it, his discography it's amazing.
Did he ever talk about not getting credit for Funkin' for Jamaica?
No, but Winky Flife would talk about that. The saxophone player.
Yeah.
He's the one that also did the Betty Boop. Some of that's Winky.
Yeah.
but that whole Jamaican scene up there, those guys are amazing, man. That's a whole nother funk lesson there.
Oh yeah.
Now, can you answer a rumor for me that I've heard for years? Is Bernard Wright Roberta Flack's godson or son? Godson, not son. Godson. Okay. All right. Because I put down somewhere one time that it was her son, and boy, people came at me like I said something about their mama or something like that. I said, I didn't know. I read it somewhere else. It's in Wikipedia. It must be true, right?
Oh, wow. Wikipedia.
Godson. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So that's funky. So I know you played a lot of jazz. You've done some rock. You've done P-Funk. And I hate to ask you this question because it's probably too simple, but do you have a favorite kind of genre where that's what I do? That's your genre?
Well, it would be jazz or fusion music, you know.
Okay.
But I have a serious love with all types of music. The only thing I don't like is traditional country music. It's the only thing I don't like. I mean, I love classical music. I just love music. You know, and that's all because of what was in my mom's house back in the days.
Right. I first saw you live. I'd heard about you for years, of course, on records and on the radio, but I first saw you live. I believe it was Schofield. I believe it was a Schofield show, and I couldn't believe I couldn't understand, because I'm not a drummer. I'm not a musician at all. I play records. That's it. Can't read music. That's it. Can barely read English. But what was amazing to me is how your pocket is so tight. You can do whatever you want to play off of the other musicians and the soloists, and your pocket is so. I mean, it's like a metronome. It's ridiculous. When did you discover, like for singers, one of the things that they discover early on is when they discover they have perfect pitch. When did you discover you were a human metronome? When did you discover that?
Well, see, I never looked at myself like I'm a human metronome, but see, that all goes back to, again, you know, by me listening to, you know, the great drummers of the past, you know, such as James Gadson.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
James Gadson, man. I mean, you know, you can set your watch by him.
Yeah. You
If you ever listen to My Love,
Yep.
Was it Kissing My Love? I'm sorry, Kissing My Love.
Yep.
Kissing My Love.
You can sit there and do this,
So don't
and it's like it's right in time, you know. But you know, and also like listening to the Delphonics, the drummer that was in that band, you know, where the backbeat, it's like the backbeat of the snare drum is so behind the beat where it's like it seems like it almost catches up with itself, but it's very precise. Every time you hit that beat at that whatever that thing is, it's persistent. And that's when I started learning how to play behind the beat. You know, like when George Clinton say, you know, like what he was saying, like oh Jesus, what was his phrase he used to use? He had so many phrases. Oh man, and all of a sudden my mind's going to blank what he used to say.
That's all right.
come back to you.
That's all right.
Not
But
get up,
you know,
not
he
to get up on a
wouldn't-
downstroke, right?
Say again?
Not as simple as get up on a downstroke, right?
No.
How about pass the joint? Was it that?
No.
It was nothing related to none of that, but
You're off.
it was a
You
cue
pass the joint?
for him to tell me, you know, like pull it back some,
Mm.
put it in the pocket,
Mhm.
in the pocket,
In the pocket.
and in the pocket to him was, you know, pull it back some, but don't lose the intensity.
So, in other words, you was on your Billy Cahan.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, but when George would say stuff like that, I would go into James Gadson mode.
Mm.
You know, and Steve Gadd mode later, is, you know, when he came around. I mean, he made a whole career by, you know, making things feel great, or you know, just making it feel great. And it's just about, you know, what he would put the snare drum behind the beat. Yep.
Now you mentioned Buddy Rich earlier too, and I'll never forget seeing him as a kid on Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
That dude was killing them drums, man. So it's a big. You look up to him a lot. You ever get to meet and work with him?
No, not work with him because he's a drummer, but I got a chance to. I met him when I was like 8 years old,
Mm.
and you know, it was now that I think back on it, you know, actually after he died, I look back on it and I was like, man, he treated me pretty good, but some of the stuff I heard him how he would talk to the band was amazing. You know, he was brutal with his bandmates, but he was really cool with me. He gave me some hints, you know, as far as like I asked him about speed and power, and he would say, if you really want to learn about speed and power, when you practice on pillows, right? So for a lot of years, I would sit there and practice on pillows, and he explained it. It's like when you strike a pillow, you got to pull your limbs out of it. Where if you practice on a drum, or normally when guys practice, they practice on a rubber surface like a practice pad. Okay, when you practice on a practice pad, every time you strike it, it's got more rebound than a natural drum. So now you got to get your hands used to that feel. But once you go through the rudiments, working on a rubber pad, you get back on the drum, it falls apart. It's not as clean as it was when you practice on a practice pad or a rubber pad. But when you play a pillow, no rebound, it's all natural. So it breaks in all this a whole lot faster. You develop all this muscle memory, you know. So practicing on pillows for a long period of time. When I got back to the drum, now my hands are moving a whole lot faster than my limbs are taking them. And that's why, you know, like you know, when you saw me with Schofield or you see me at a drum clinic, and I'm sitting there, the upper body is not moving, but my hands are blur. And that was because of the pillow technique. Now, meeting Billy Cobham later, he confirmed it because that's what he used to practice. You know?
Wow.
Man.
There was a rumor I heard that this is sort of like there was two people that are famous people that they said that Babe Ruth was black and Buddy Rich was black. You know, and I was like, yeah, how does that work? So I never knew anybody who met him, but it's one of those rumors that people always talk about.
Well, I never saw Buddy Rich in color, but in black and white, he did look like he could have some features, facial features that might have little something going on.
Yeah, I saw him on color on the late night talk shows. Yeah, he was on late night talk show, and he had his own. Like a special or like a variety show. Yeah, he had his own variety show.
Yeah, but you know, a lot of people don't know he was a professional tap dancer.
I didn't know that.
What?
There's some film. Look it up. Buddy Rich is a tap dancer. You'll be amazed. And he was a great singer.
I did know that. I didn't know he was a singer.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a tap dancer. Wow. Yeah. Now, you said, Russ, that you felt he was black. I saw Buddy Rich, might have been on the Muppet Show, but he was wearing an ankh. So that led me to believe it's like this cat knows something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had an ankh around his neck.
Yeah.
So
he definitely had the attitude, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He didn't take no crap, you know what I'm saying? He was really, really tough guy.
Check him out. Hey, you're watching IRTS Live. I want to show our guest tonight what we've been doing for the last 4 years and show all of you out there watching what we've been doing the last 4 years and give you a taste of some of the great guests that we've had on the show. Would you like to check it out? Say yes?
Sure.
Yes.
Oh, no. What do you think about them drums there, Dennis?
Cool. Nice machine.
Nice and clean. There you go. But yeah, we've been doing this for like 4 years online, 2 years of television before COVID hit, so 6 years altogether.
Yeah.
And we've been blessed and have a lot of great guests. And one more tonight is Dennis Chambers. You're watching us right now. Keep that music going, flashing. Keep this conversation going. And all you people that are out there watching, turn off Baraka Michelle. Put it on your DVR. I know that's what you're doing. I'm DVR myself. You know, but we're gonna watch that after this because this is something you need to be doing. Go ahead and hit something, Flash.
Oh.
This makes your face go like this when you.
Right.
So sounds like you're in sync with the bass player a lot. About
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, pretty much every situation I get into with whatever type of music, I'm always trying to lock with the bass player, and the bass player lock with me. So,
Do you play bass?
oh yeah.
Okay.
In my basement, yeah, I got a collection of basses you wouldn't believe,
Mm.
and some of a lot of them come from bass players I played with, and some come from guys that I really admired. Like I have a bass from Mark King just sent me.
Oh, level 42. Oh my God. Dude.
Damn.
I'm a big fan.
Stanley Clark bass. I got 2 basses from Stanley, maybe 3 basses from Stanley.
Damn.
Wow.
And then I have a Bootsy Collins. I got 2 Bootsy Collins basses.
You got a star?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so check this out. I'm calling JetBlue. I'm coming over. We're gonna go through tapes. I'll help you clean up from the fire.
You will never hear.
You see that?
That's funny.
He hit you with the Spock Jenkins.
Spock Jenkins. It could have been worse. He could have gave me the Men in Black one.
Well, I got that around here somewhere.
The neuralizer.
They just go.
I'm gonna bribe you with a Baltimore crab bomb. I'm gonna come by with a crab bomb. I'm not gonna come empty-handed.
Dude, I go to the crab place.
Better bring some from California out there too. Baby.
Okay, I'll bring you a burrito. I'm gonna fly with a burrito.
It's a really good burrito, though. It's a really good burrito.
It's a great burrito. Nothing like a San Francisco burrito.
It's only been sitting in the bag for 6 hours while he was on the plane. It's only been sitting there for 6 hours, but it'd be good, man. He didn't. So yeah, you are a collector then, I guess. That's so. How do you musicians ask a musician for a bass that they're already playing? I mean, do they just retire it and they say you can have it, or would you? Well, like a game worn jersey.
Well, all great musicians have more than one instrument. They normally collect. They have some of their favorites and some are not their favorites. But for me, it was like. I think the first bass player I asked for a bass was Marcus. I think it was.
Damn.
Marcus, which I never got it. He promising me send the thing, and I don't have an Anthony Jackson bass, which he kept saying he was going to send me one of his. But pretty much everybody, I got a Victor Wooten's bass, a Victor Bailey's bass, John Patitucci's bass. But not only basses, I collect guitars too. Like John McLaughlin gave me one of his guitars, the Scallop Holsworth guitar, where he just came right off the stage and just handed it to me. I didn't even ask him for it.
You said Mark King, though.
I'm holding the bass. I'm talking to Pat Metheny, and I, Pat asked to hold it, and I gave it to him, and I'm watching Holsworth walk around the club, and then he comes back and he says, "Oh, you need a case with this. You're going to need a case with this." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I heard you collect guitars." And I was getting ready to trying to figure out what is he talking about, because at the time I was collecting basses, but I wasn't going to bring it up because he's giving me his guitar, So
Right.
find it, and the next thing I know, I'm collecting guitars.
See, that's love and respect for you, man. That's love and
started
respect.
off with Mark King. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you said Mark King. That
Right.
just was like,
People don't understand how much of a beast he is.
Yeah.
Mark King is ridiculous.
Yeah, but so is Larry Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I got one of those basses.
Rest week.
Yeah, road trip.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Blues.
But you're not coming. You're not coming in.
When is this Dennis Chambers?
Dennis gonna look out the window and say, "Wait, that's some guys from that TV show, huh?"
Yeah, okay, ball head guys.
They're not coming in. They're not coming in.
Dennis, I had to ask. During the '80s, that clicking sound was really popular. Depending on certain areas you were in. And Jeff Carl was obviously really known for that.
Yeah.
And just in what he was doing in his session work, and especially with Chicago, and in his working with whether Chicago or Air Supply, so on and so forth. Was that ever something that it was requested upon you to do at times whenever you went into a session?
No, it was never a request. Sometimes it just ended up that way. I remember once somebody hired me and tried to get me to play like Steve Gadd. And I kind of pulled it off, I thought, which I had to change the drum heads at that time, which is he used Evans oil-filled heads. They're called hydraulics.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would change the heads, and I did the session that way. But normally guys, I was lucky. Normally guys would have me to come in and just do me, because first of all, when I walk in, it's not about me. My attitude is not about me, it's about us. And how do we make this work? Right? So, and there's a difference, with the younger generations of the younger generation of music, where all they think about is themselves. And where they get it from is from the multimedia and what you see on TV as far as the Grammys and stuff. Every time you see the Grammys, it's not about a group anymore. It's about an artist, which is teaching you it's about you. The era I grew up from, it's about us. It was a group. Like when I joined Santana, it was a band of brothers. When I joined P-Funk, it was a band of brothers, and we played just like we felt to each other.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that where you met Tony Lindsay with Santana?
Yes, sir. My brother.
He's good.
That man is more like a brother to me than my brother.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's a really good brother, man. We love him on this show. Just in general, we were all in San Jose at the festival a couple of weeks ago when Frankie handed over the mic to Tony.
Yeah.
And very proud of him. And he just did the job, man. Did the job.
I've seen Tony, in his worst, where he had the flu. And I mean, early part of that day, he couldn't even talk. And between the time I saw him earlier up until showtime, he just kept his head in a big thing of steam and went out there and killed. Killed.
Wow.
And back up off the mic, he go throw up in a bucket, gargle with some Listerine and go back out there and finish, man. The guy, I never saw anybody do that other than Felipe Wynn. Right. So Felipe was another one that was like that. And Gary Scheider, the guy that used to wear.
Now you talking about Felipe Wynn when he was with the Spinners, or when he left to go do P-Funk?
Yeah, when he left to join P Funk, and also he was with Sugar Hill too. I don't know if anybody knew
When
that.
he did solo album.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I played on that record.
Now, Felipe played with Bootsy and Catfish in the House Guests, right? Wasn't he a part of the House Guests first, and then he went to the Spinners?
That's right.
That's right. Bootsy didn't want to, he almost turned down George, because of when he was asked to play with George, according to what Bootsy told me. That's when he was with, he had a band with Felipe.
Yeah.
So when Felipe had the offer to go with the Spinners, he did his thing, and Bootsy decided to do his. So,
yeah.
GC Cameron, Felipe's cousin, he talked about how he said my cousin was so solid. He said I used to watch him when he was with Catfish and Bootsy, and he was like, obviously I'm in Detroit, he's in Cincinnati, and he was just saying, man, just the things that guy did when he was with them, and then for him to come in and he was talking about how he replaced him in the Spinners, and he was like, man, he said he just did things I couldn't do, and he was my older cousin.
So what's the story with Felipe going from the Spinners to Parliament Funkadelic? Because us on the outside just didn't understand that.
There was a connection from the beginning. They were
It's all Cincinnati and Detroit.
Yeah, but just the sound is what I guess is what I'm getting at. Just the sound of
we
Parliament Funkadelic.
Back at that time, we were trying to figure that out too. Those of us that didn't know the connection between him and Bootsy. And when he came in, the guy was still wearing tux and tails. We out there with army fatigues, and he's out there with tux and tails. And I got to take this one night, man. Okay, so we're at rehearsal when he first joined. His mindset is still with the Spinners, sort of.
Yeah.
And we're like this grungy funk band, and he brought in his own lights and pyro, which we had a professional light crew. We had a pyro guy who, I think he was, I think he went to NAM or something. This guy would blow panels out. Wow. So one night we're doing
interruption for 1 second. That'd be Vietnam he's talking about there.
Oh, Vietnam.
Not the conference.
That's right.
This is Vietnam. He's talking about. Okay, carry on.
One day at rehearsal, we're doing knee deep, and he wants to set up his own pyro. The pyro guy, the crew stopped the rehearsal and look, man, we have our own pyro. It's pretty serious, and the light show, this, that. Your stuff is like toys to what we got going on here, and so they talk him into letting him do his thing, or letting the pyro guys do their thing. So now, I remember one night on knee deep, he's walking around, and he pointed to the flash pod that was on the right side, and nothing happened. He danced around some more, and he's looking at the pyro people, and they're looking up at the mothership. They thought something was going on with it. So he's walking around some more, and he pointed to the one on the left. Nothing happened. He got on the mic, and he called the road crew guy, called them that they were racist and stuff. That wasn't true. We had a white road crew, and they were like, you mess with them, you mess with us, and you mess with us, you got to mess with them.
Yeah.
So it took him a minute for him to get that in his skull. So another night, none of us messed with this pyro guy because he was nuts, right? So we just knew the pyro guy was going to get it. We just didn't know when. So, so, he's out there doing knee deep, and the pyro guy's standing there looking at him, smiling. And Felipe is walking around, and he's nodding like, ready? And the guy's going, yeah, I'm ready. So he pointed to the one on the left. The right one went up, and he was standing over top of it.
Ooh.
I go, boom!
Ooh.
And I'm like, my drums are like 12 feet away from the front, right? And I can feel the vibration from it, And we just knew he was dead.
Oh, damn.
And for a minute, you couldn't see anything. And I could see Skeet, the bass player, Rodney. I can see him. He's turning around looking at me like had this worried look. And all of a sudden, you hear this. to this blood gurgling, scream.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you see him running. His cape is on fire. His
Oof.
tuck
His tails.
fire. And he's running, and you see somebody running behind him. And so I'm playing.
Never stop.
And I'm looking over, and see him running that way, to the left. And then all of a sudden he comes back to the right. Now he's got two guys on him running, and they're laughing.
Can't answer his pants.
He's running back and forth across the stage trying to get somebody to put him out.
Mhm.
They threw him in the middle of the stage. They picked him up and threw him, slammed him on the ground, and started rolling him. It looked like they were watching a record or something, Man, when I see that, I'm like, oh my God. Well, at least he's alive, I thought.
Yeah.
And after that, all of a sudden, the whole band, I look at the bass player, he's laughing. I started laughing. They had to bring a bucket because I'm throwing up, trying to play.
Man.
We're nuts.
Yeah, touring with Parliament was not like touring with the Stylistics.
Oh, no.
I guess
After that, he learned,
Yeah.
I guess
we
Sweet was
learn today.
I guess Sweet Play was singing out. He was acting out what he was saying. Answer my pants when I need to dance.
Oh, yeah. He had fire in his pants.
Yeah.
So,
I got fire in my pants.
so needy question for you.
Yeah.
Were you on? You did not play on the recording, right?
No.
Okay.
I think it
So
was Bootsy that played drums on that.
okay. So when they start touring and he's singing it just like, because I heard the rumor was that the recording itself is like 48 minutes, and the engineer is who pieced everything together.
Yeah.
And that's how the vocals swing back around. Now, when he's performing, when you guys are performing that live in that little capsule of time when he was with the group, was he true to the record, or would it just meander like it did in the recording? I never saw them perform that.
Yeah, he was true to the recording pretty much, but every now and then he would drift off. He would like try to bring in some some other artists. Like he would try to imitate Otis Redding. If Otis Redding would sing this, that's what he would do.
If Otis Redding would sing Knee Deep.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
He was up at bab, all that stuff.
Wow.
Felipe was great. He was the great what do you call it when they're tailing up the end of the song? Were you just scatting all over? Vamping. He was a great vamper.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them Spinner songs.
He was a great person, though, man.
Okay.
I kid you not, man. Every night when he sung Sadie, he couldn't finish it.
Damn.
Yeah.
He couldn't finish it. He would run off crying.
Damn.
And one night I went into the dressing room and I asked him why, because I didn't know, the history about that song. And what he was singing about is kind of true. His mother, they grew up in a very poor, family. Well, he grew up in a poor family. And his family never, or his mother and father never saw him make it. And, he was kind of feeling guilty because, the guy made it and he made some money and he wanted to, to shower his people, his family, with his gift, the money he was making from it. And also missing his kids. I mean, every night, I kid you not, every night at a certain time, you would see him on the phone, saying goodnight to his kids, no matter where he was.
Wow.
So you would do a section of Spinner songs in the middle of the Parliament Funkadelic show?
Yeah, we had a little medley we had with Felipe. Yeah.
Wow.
You got to remember too, Ray Davis was there, and so Ray Davis was one of the coldest bass singers.
Yep.
Some people would say he was colder than Melvin Franklin.
Well, at one point he took Melvin's place with the Temptations.
With Melvin was sick. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, when he left Zapp to go do them.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, did you work at all with Bernie Royale on his, especially on that first album? All the Will in the World.
None of his records. He had his crew, and then later he apologized for it because I was just coming in with P Funk, and I had to like kind of prove myself to certain members.
Yeah.
He loved me, for what I was doing or the energy that I brought in the band.
Mhm.
but he was loyal to his friends, you know, Tyrone Lampkin and those guys, you know. And you know, I have to say, you know, Tyrone Lampkin was a great musician, great drummer.
Mhm.
I used to listen to all those early Funkadelic records with him on it, Maggot Brain and all that. You
Yeah,
know?
when they were Westbound.
Yep.
Yeah.
Super Stupid and all that, you know.
Yeah.
Can you go to a concert and just enjoy the show, or are you always listening to the drummer and things like that?
Yeah, you know, I went to see the Whispers, man. I love that show. And because they were playing for real. It's hard to find musicians that play for real these days. You know.
But do you like go to a show?
The Whispers Orchestra, right? That's what they call themselves.
Yeah. The orchestra. Yeah.
That band is amazing.
So you go to a show and you take your wife here because we're going out on a date tonight, huh? Just you and me, baby. And then the next thing you know, she looks over to you and you're like, and you don't even know that you're doing it. You don't even know you're doing it.
No, I never, you know, sit there and like actually really watch the drummer the whole night. I'm watching the whole band because you know when I'm on the bandstand, I'm doing that. You know, like my ears is just listening to the overall picture.
Yeah.
You know, if the drummer is like taking a solo, yeah, I'll listen to that. You know, and I listen to how great he plays, but more or less, I'm listening to how well the band played. That band of the Whispers is amazing.
Nice. Good to know.
Did you ever? Tight. Yeah, I mean, and God rest his soul, Grady Wilkins was just, I mean, he really ran that band.
Yeah, and Reggie Rugley too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, go ahead.
But I got to tell you that night it was called the Soul Review, and they had Black Ivory and all those bands. And some of the bands I can't remember the names, but they had big hits back at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But the sad thing about it was, out of 6 or 7 groups, 2 of the groups had bands, and everybody else was singing to backup tapes.
Oh, man.
And the mix and the energy in the house was crazy because you know you have anybody that sings to a tape, they normally have the vocals way out front, and the band and the rhythm section of the music section of it is like way back in the mix.
Yeah.
And you know, you really don't enjoy the show that way. I mean, first of all, you're not getting the energy from a band. And it really got crazy. I remember Black Ivory was out there and they said they were making announcements about announcing the other band member or singer. And the guy said, look, we're waiting for the tape to queue up because we got to build this thing up right. And I'm going like, Jesus Christ, man, are you kidding me? You're like, you know, 3,000, 4,000 people. And you got to wait for the tape to kick in.
Yeah.
The Whispers came on and they just lit it.
Really my dad was he went to go see Bobby Brown in Sacramento, California, and it was an opening act that was a prominent opening act. And he just said he was so disappointed because he thought more of what the opening act was going to do as opposed to Bobby Brown. And he said when he saw Bobby, Bobby came out, he jumped from like he came off the stage, did the splits. His band was just kicking, man. And he said that point, he had so much respect for Bobby Brown, not the greatest singer, but just a great entertainer. And he said his band enhanced it.
Yeah, that was a tight band. That was a tight band. The Don't Be Cruel tour, the Bobby tour, that was a tight. You're talking about a show.
Yeah. And he saw him on the Bobby, and he saw it for that Bobby tour too.
Yeah, because he actually New Edition. It was Albie Shore, New Edition, Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
New Edition was opening for Bobby Brown.
This is crazy.
Now, here's a question from the audience here. Kim Batiste, did you play drums on the Big Bang Theory?
In the studio.
Not on the record.
You need to hear it?
That could have. I mean, look, when you walk into a studio, a lot of that music don't have names.
Yeah. You got a flash?
Huh?
Of course I do.
Flash got it.
Jessica Cleaves. Doing that.
That's who?
Jessica Cleaves.
Oh, singing. Yes.
Yeah.
So the answer is
I could have, like I said, you do so much. I mean, look, I played on maybe 500, maybe 1,000 songs.
Mhm.
I can't remember what was like anymore. But I do know that if it's not me, it's a guy named Kenny Carlton. So one of us cut that song.
okay.
Yeah,
But
that's one of the best sequenced Parliament albums, period, because it goes from Being from the Black Hole right into the Big Bang Theory.
The Glory How the Stupid album.
Hey,
Right.
look, let me tell you a little story about that record, though. That cover,
Yeah.
the donkey or the man's body with the donkey's head on it with the beret.
Yeah.
Rick James he thought that was him.
Really?
He thought it was him. He thought George Clinton was making a joke,
Oh,
a
wow.
joke on him. So he would go to all the in stores and tear up the records.
Oh wow.
Rick.
Rick was cold like that though.
Rick was crazy, man, back in the day.
Wow.
But people were like P-Funk, in Atlanta. I forgot the Peachtree Records or
Peaches.
Peaches Records. Yeah, we
Peaches.
would go in there and do the autograph sessions and take some music along for the road and stuff. Rick James will come in right behind us, and next thing you know, we get a phone call, or somebody get a phone call. Rick had tore up the whole album section of P-Funk. And a lot of people don't know. Also, Rick James auditioned for Parliament Funkadelic.
Really?
He auditioned for it. And
This is when he was in Detroit, when he was at Motown in the 60s, right?
I think this was way before that.
In Buffalo,
he was
with that rock band, Buffalo, that rock band he was with,
The Minor Birds.
Minor Birds, yeah.
Yeah, with Neil Young and all of those guys.
Yeah.
Then he went AWOL, so they had to put him back.
Then he had to go. Then he was in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
But he had an audition and failed it. But I remember, he said, or George Clinton said something about Rick James had mentioned something about one of these days you're going to be opening for me, and damned if that almost didn't happen.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. On one of those big festivals, we almost had to open for Rick James.
Wow. That's a legacy moment right there.
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh wow.
But I had to give it to him. That was a good show.
Yeah. Oh, Rick James put on a hell of a show, man. Stone City, that band was tight. Stone City was fly. Yeah. Stone City was fly.
The only thing I didn't like was, he cussed out the audience right when he come on stage. I don't know what that was about. But the audience loved it though. They love to be called MFs, and
they ate it up.
Oh, they more than ate it up.
Okay.
Did you cross paths? Well, you mentioned Kenny Carlton, but did you ever cross Rub Evans with him or Melvin Webb and Larry? What's the brother's name from radio? But did you rub elbows with any of those guys?
Yeah, they used to open for it. I mean, like radio used to open for it. The Barcades and all that. So yeah, we crossed paths.
Yeah.
The only person I really didn't get along with was Larry Blackman.
Really?
Oh.
Cameo, they were hot. Cameo was hot, but they're opening for us, and they act like they were they act like they were the headliners. In fact, backstage there was always something going on, between Roger Troutman or Prince, or it's always a fight. That's going on back there. And it really didn't mess with P-Funk because we were too big of a group to mess with.
Yeah.
We got along with the Barcades though. The Barcades guys were great.
Yeah, we had Larry Dotson on the show once. Really good guy. Good guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cameo was in the beginning they were really a huge tight band.
Yes, they were.
That horn section was crazy.
And the rhythm section.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And from the syncopation of the dance steps to everybody knowing their place. When Larry moved from the drums to the front, it kind of lost a little of its of a
Impact.
stutter, you know.
Yeah.
But they were a really, really good band.
Yeah. I enjoyed watching them. I just didn't care to be around, certain members. Well,
Jer-
I didn't care being around Larry, but
That red cod piece.
Now, this is pre cod piece stuff.
This is when he was a drummer.
This is funk.
Oh,
And all
Funk,
that.
I just want to be.
Yeah.
Dude, they were tight.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, even with
I really, and I really enjoyed watching Larry and listening to him because he had something to say,
Mhm.
and he was singing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Jerry Thomas from Fatback Band and the Jimmy Castor Bunch, he had a similar experience to you on that with Cameo, and he said he was very careful with what he said, but he was just like, I don't know about Cameo. It was just like they were. He said at least one particular person. He said on that drummer. I don't know.
But Aaron, the bass player. I mean, they were great.
Yeah,
Aaron, I met him. He was
in fact, they were all great except for Larry. Larry was the only odd one out.
Yeah.
I met Aaron. I met Charlie. I met Lockett. I met Nathan. Nathan was a little different, but they were all really cool to me.
Yeah.
But I was just a little dude fanning out at the Circle Star Theater.
Right.
And
Man, I remember that place. That was a great. Is that place still exists?
No.
Sadly, no.
Rest in peace, man. The Circle Star Theater. Oh my God, it was a jewel in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
There's a couple of theaters like that. There's celebrity theaters in Houston. I think there's one in Connecticut, but there's nothing like the Circle Star. You ask anybody who played there, and everybody played there, from Sinatra to CJ's father, Richard Pryor. Everybody played there.
When's the last time you were out in the Bay playing out here?
I think it was early this year.
Really?
Okay.
With
I
who?
was out there with Faye Carroll.
Oh yeah.
Ryan was on that show.
With Ryan Nicole.
Ryan Nicole was on that show.
Okay.
She dipped
Ryan
in.
came on, like I said, before the show started. For y'all who are watching and looking for her, she had to go do some shopping. Her son is starting school tomorrow, and they got to get some clothes and stuff. But he came on for a quick second before we started to remind him that she worked with you in Faye Carroll.
Yeah. I have a Circle Star question for you since you mentioned it. So who would you play with at the Circle Star?
P-Funk.
Oh
wow!
Look, this is funny. I never forget this as long as I live. We're playing. This is 83 maybe. Or 82. Maceo Parker is he's supposed to be the musical director at that time. And he's the band is playing, he's playing the cowbell, banging on it. And some girl ran down the aisle when the stage was turning, ran down the aisle and was I think she gave somebody a piece of paper. One of the band members a piece of paper. I think she gave it to Maceo. And the next thing I know, all of a sudden, some guy, big dude, running down behind her, knocked her in her head and drug her by her hair like caveman style up the aisle.
Come here.
And Maceo was standing there banging the cowbell, looking at it with his mouth open.
Every night I got to prove my love.
And whoever took the paper just threw it away.
What you doing?
I don't want that. I don't want that. You didn't give it to me. I don't want it.
And it was funny. I mean, watching that happen, it was I never saw anything like that before. And where I grew up is you don't hit women.
Yeah. Boy. Yeah, no, not at all.
She was just a groupie.
Star Isle. That was so cool. The Circle Star was a great venue.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
That was there was not a bad seat in the house.
No,
not at all.
No.
Only time it was a bad seat is if you sat directly opposite Star Aisle. So that the show would always end with the artist. It would begin with the artist back to you and end with the artist back to you. Yeah, because they had the Star Aisles where you would come from the dressing room onto the stage.
Yeah.
So it will start rotating from there and end there as well. That was the only time it was a bad seat. You've played the entire planet and probably played on the moon too. So do you have a couple of venues that are just unbelievable venues? Like a venue that's on my list is Red Rocks. I've never been to Red Rocks and I've always wanted to play there, but I always wanted to go there too. Are there any venues particular that you see them on the list, and you're like, okay, I can't wait to get there?
No.
No.
You played everywhere.
No, there's one building in Germany, and it was where Jesse Owens ran.
Oh,
It was that building. I played there. That was the only building that really killed me because the history of Jesse Owens being there,
Right.
with the Nazis and stuff.
okay.
That's good. Well, that's the answer. That's the answer.
That's a hell of an
You're
answer.
watching IRTS Live. It's Tuesday night. We are in the Bay. He's in Baltimore, and we are talking to Dennis Chambers. The almighty DJ CJ Flash is here. D Minor is here. Big Russ is here. I'm Jerry G Dub. We got a little bit more music to go, and then we're gonna let this man go because it's getting late on the East Coast. So go ahead, Flash. What you got?
Everybody put your hands together right here. Y'all say, yeah! Oh, something.
Let me ask you this question. We ask guests a lot of times about the process of making a record. The process of making a record with Parliament Funkadelic must have been crazy, man. I mean, they're obviously very talented musicians. You're there. But just listening to George and watching George, you got to think it just must. And then you said you did 48-minute version of Knee Deep.
Yeah, a
48
lot
minutes.
of those songs were like.
I think I was at that concert when you did that, man. So I had to leave. I got all funked out. I had to leave after a while. It's too much.
But being in the studio, I mean, like the masterpiece was Atomic Dog when we did that. I mean, because I was up there. I was in Detroit visiting a friend of mine, Kenny Colton. I was there dealing with him, and David Spradley Jr. called me. He found out I was in town, and he called me to come over to track on that record. And at that time, I was sort of on the outs with George. That's why I didn't want to do any more tracks and all that stuff. But anyway, I went in there. What I heard was a song. It was another song. Rhythm-wise, it was another song. What happened was they turned the tape over to put backwards hand claps on it, and the thing was even funkier backwards.
Wow.
So then he asked me to put a drum track on, and also Gary Mudbone Cooper. I think he said he played drums on it as well. So, but I guess when I talked to David said I was the one that did it, and I remember certain hi-hat parts and all the special licks I put into it, and I heard them. But the song was a lot longer, and they had like I think like a over 100 vocal tracks, and somehow I don't know how they did it, but they mixed that thing down. They kept messing with it, taking things out. But the original Atomic Dog in Knee Deep was really something. I wish I could have got a tape of it.
Wow.
I did hear George tells a story that he was in a certain kind of way, and when he came in to record, he heard the track going backwards, and he thought that they were playing a joke on him.
Yeah.
And that's why, and he recorded that way because he was angry. He was mad. He's like, I don't have time for this. Blah blah blah. Y'all call me down. Y'all not even ready. Just let it roll. Just let it roll. He thought they were playing a joke on him.
No, what I remember was him running in. It was a dead of winter, and he ran in with he had no shoes on, no coat, Snow is on the ground.
Mm.
He ran in, and Scheider had already had some tracks organized, and asked him to put his parts down, and he yelled out some crazy crap, something to put down there. And then he came back a week or two later, and he was in his right mind, and he asked Gary to, he wanted to do his tracks, really to do the tracks. And Gary said, "What are you, crazy? You did the tracks 2 weeks ago." And when Gary played back of what Gary had done to it, George was trying to figure out like how the heck did he do that? Like he took something that didn't make any sense that he was just yelling over, and made a track for George. That's what I remember.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I will go with your recollection.
Do like stuff like Knee Deep and all that stuff. That stuff, man. One Nation was really crazy.
If you ever put together a Dennis Chambers tribute air band, I'm your guitar player. I got you for that one song. I know every air note of that song. I can do guitar on that one. So call me. That now I got my trade off to get in the house. I'm trying to get my way into the house right now.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to do, man. You're trying to. It ain't gonna work.
I'm still tripping off of the fact that George ran in the studio with no shoes on.
Yeah, and the winter.
But he must have issues with clothes, because he just seems to likes to be naked a lot.
Well, or there's some things that take his mind off his clothes.
Exactly.
How about that?
You're the second person I've heard say that. It was a radio personality, Johnny Morris, and he said that he used to hang out with George, and that was another way. He said George had issues with clothes. I'm like,
and you know what? There's video footage, of him like he was at a cabaret, with Funkadelic, and I wasn't there. I was too young, but the stories I heard in that band was like he would like take his clothes off and just run on the tops of tables, running down and coming back, everything swinging, girls are screaming, but ain't no girls are leaving, so it was crazy.
Have you ever seen that Tales from the Tour Bus episode?
Yeah.
That must have been it.
So it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
well,
Many times.
It was accurate, but I have to say the people that told it, wasn't there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they weren't there.
Oh, okay.
Sly Stone said a story where I guess Sly was a special guest at a Funkadelic show, and he's coming off the mothership, and George comes off the mothership right behind him, and he's exposing himself. And they said Sly got mad as a wet hen. Told George, "Don't you ever do that again," because he literally came right behind Sly.
Oh, naked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
George.
Look on Sly's face, like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Like he thought maybe that he was in prison or something. Sly was a new territory, man. He didn't know.
Smoke check, homie.
All right, look, we just got a little bit more time with you. I know that we if you were up to it, one day we're going to do a part 2 if you're up to it.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
Would love to, but I had to ask CJ, and I usually let CJ just do his thing, but I needed him to touch on one more group tonight, which we're going to do, and then we're going to say some goodbyes here. But go ahead, Flash, what you got? See that shirt, Russ?
We're gonna break out the house.
One of the best albums ever made. There's a place out here called the Concord Pavilion that used to go to a lot of shows back in my radio days, and they would always be like tuning up all the speakers and everything to the Asia album.
Yeah,
And I would ask them, they said it was the best produced album that's ever been made, and everything they just tied sonically just made it work perfect for their setting up the show.
Same engineer, same mixer for those albums. And matter of fact, when they got back and did the Two Against Nature record, the top of the century, same team. Is by far the best sounding records. Yeah, just ridiculous. I hadn't heard anything that sounded that good. The only other record I heard this century sound that good is that Burt Bacharach album with Dr. Dre. But my God, the way that they mix it, and I have so many Steely Dan questions. I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna let you tell some stories.
Talk about Steely Dan, please.
Well, joining that band, okay, so we rehearsed for about a week, or maybe a little longer than a week, and I think we went through every song in the catalog, pretty much. And so for about a week, there was no Walter, no Donald. The first guy I saw, I think it was in the second week, was Donald came in, and he just stood at the door, the entrance to the stage. He just stood at the door, and I'm guessing it was Donald, but I wasn't sure. And he just kind of scaled the wall, his back, like he just slid down the wall as he's listening to us play on the bandstand. And then you couldn't see him when he got to the left. And then he came down that wall on the left side. And the next thing I know, he jumps up on stage and he started playing. And he didn't introduce himself till about 6 songs later. He turned around and says, "Oh, I'm Donald Fagen," and turned around and kept playing. And he didn't say much. In fact, I was hearing all these like weird horror stories, from the drummers, because I knew all the drummers that played on the records. And Bacaro told me a story once where he was in the middle of like 20 something takes on this one song. And he got really ticked off, and he took the drumsticks and slammed the sticks right in the drum head, the snare drum head, snare drum, and said, "Get a take out of that," and walked. So I'm waiting for all this stuff to happen, but they didn't say much to me, right? One night we're playing Asia, and after I got over the goosebumps thing, period, or whatever you want to call it, I'm playing the song, and I figured, this night I'm going to play it the way I wanted to play it, play it the Dennis Chambers way, instead of trying to play it the Steve Gadd way, which they didn't ask me to do, right? I'm playing Donald is screaming, "Yeah!" He's looking back, and he couldn't play the accents, because I'm doing all this stuff in it. He's screaming, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." And when the band took an intermission, the band is in the dressing room. The rhythm section is in the dressing room, and they're, telling me they loved what I did, and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, some guy come in and says, "Donald, request your presence in the dressing room, his dressing room," right? And I'm like, okay, well, I go down there. I know he enjoyed the solo, so I go in there. He's playing piano. He's doing his. He's a serious fan of Thelonious Monk. He loves to play the Thelonious Monk's pieces. And he kept playing. He sees me in the room, but he acting like he don't see me, And I know we had a short amount of time, and I wanted to get myself prepared for the second part of the show. And I'm making noises, and I'm like, "Excuse me, Donald, I heard you wanted to see me." He says, yeah, in a minute. He's still playing. And he stopped, and he put the piano lid down, and he goes, "Yeah, man, that was a great solo you played. You played absolutely every night. I really love your playing. But don't never do that again.
Damn.
Don't ever do that again."
Damn.
I'm like, "Man, I thought you loved it." At first, I thought he was joking. And then when I saw he wasn't joking, I'm like, "I thought you loved the solo." He said, "Man, I love that solo. I love what you did. But the thing is, I got to look cool when I'm playing the accents." Blang, that, dit. He said I couldn't play because I was so busy listening to, what you were doing back there.
Mm, mm.
That was the only thing he said the whole time I was there.
So that wasn't a bad chewing out. That wasn't bad, right?
No, it wasn't that you went out at all. But I was
That's a compliment.
I was
Yeah, that
expecting
can't be
worse.
compliment if you think about it.
Yeah, I always heard that he was crotchety, and
Yeah.
I'd never met him, but I was a fan. And then the solo stuff with Nightfly, I was still a fan. Now when they play, and he's got, and I don't know how long he's been doing it, but his Rhodes Head, he has sometimes it's Monk on the cover of the Rhodes Head, sometimes it's Duke Ellington on the cover of the Rhodes Head. I got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah.
I always wanted. We'll probably in part 2. I do want to talk to you about it because I want to hear like the backstory of the whole.
Yeah.
The Michael McDonald, was he really in the group or not in the group, and what was his input? And I got so many stories, man. I could talk about your career forever, man, forever.
Yeah, the guy Don was like an introvert. He didn't say much to people, and he really don't express his feelings. He keeps them right close in. But I used to see him on the side of the stage before he walk on, and he's over there like having a ball, by himself. And then he puts those shades on. And he comes out on stage and is like, it was weird. And when he sang, it was like you know it was him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear his voice, whatever he's in.
Yeah.
Same thing like with Michael McDonald. It's him when you hear him.
Mm-hmm.
But with Steely Dan, when I was there, he wasn't a part of the band or anything like that. They would hire him, hire Michael McDonald, that is, to come in and do some sessions, to be an extra voice on the track, because he and Donald work so well together. Their voices is a beautiful blend. Just same as like Phoebe Snow, Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a documentary on the making of Asia. Were you in that?
One part.
They went by like song by song.
Yeah. I saw a little clip of me wearing a red shirt or something.
Okay. But they didn't interview you or anything.
No.
Okay.
I mean, because I wasn't a part of really part of that history. But I got to tell you a little something. Like when Asia came out, every morning back when I was in high school, you can set your watch that song was going to come on at a certain time. So while that song was on, I'm getting dressed, getting ready for school. And I had the stereo on in my room. I come out of my room, go downstairs, turn the stereo on, and stand by the door and listen to Gad take the solo out. And then it would get out where I couldn't hear it anymore. Then I open the door, close it, lock it, run to the bus stop, and get the bus. And every now and then, I would miss the bus, right? So I'm running behind the bus. So now I'm playing drums with the guys who wrote that song. And that song was the first song in the show. And I kid you not, every time I looked down, I had bumps. And my mind going back to when I was running behind those buses.
Wow. All right, so part 2, we're going to talk a lot more about Steely Dan because I love their music anyway. So man, hey, Dennis, thank you, brother.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Right.
Let's go around the horn
Part 2.
real
I'm
quick.
going to be at your house for part 2. So
I'll do it for
So, let me ask you: Are you a Trekkie?
No.
Oh, you're not. Okay, all right. Okay, so
But I like this, though. I like
it's not gonna really work. Then. Okay, all right. You scared me for a second. I thought it might really work. Okay.
All right, Russ, you talking? Go
the
ahead.
next time we see each other, I have the flashy thingy.
Just remember to point at him, not at me.
Man,
Russ, while you talking, go ahead.
This has been one of those highlights. We get a chance to talk to some really cool people, really nice people who've touched so many people across this globe. But man, to sit here and talk to you and just listen to these stories and close my eyes and hear this genius on the drums, man, it's ridiculous, man. I really this is one of my favorite shows. We've done a lot of shows. This is one of my favorite shows, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
D minor.
Mr. Chambers, I want to just say this. Growing up in junior high school and high school, I attempted to play drums in the marching band. And I'd say you, along with Zigaboo Mosley, Steve Smith from Journey, Jeff Becerra, obviously of Toto and Chicago, so on and so forth. You guys were like my heroes. And, you know, we have yet to get into like some of your solo work, and the Getting Even album is an album that I really appreciate and enjoy. And that was about the time that I was, you know, trying to figure it out, you know, as far as this drumming thing. So, and, you know, so going back to that point, but I just want to say thank you so much for just what you do and what you've given musically.
Thank you very much. I just
All right, CJ Flash. CJ Flash.
This has been a hell of a journey, man. I have the privilege of, and I say this all the time, but I have the privilege of digging, going through rabbit holes and finding out where it started. If and it's generally a start, but this I was finding all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, okay, I know this isn't listed, but I'm led here and I'm led here, and I found some of the solo stuff that you did that wasn't easy to find at all. And we haven't even gotten to that yet, and I can't wait for the next time. But I very rarely get to meet my musical heroes. It's very, very rare. You have been a musical hero of mine for a very long time, and I can't thank you enough for being a part of the show and the stuff that you've given us musically. Just thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And I will close it out by saying again, we thank you so much, man. Especially whenever we talk to somebody who's back east, we know they're staying up a little later than we are, and we appreciate that. But next time you come on, and please come on another time, I need to hear Steely Dan. We need to hear your music.
Yes,
I did a little digging into your solo stuff, and you got some pretty funky stuff of your own, and I'm sure some great stories. But man, just really, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks again to Tony Lindsay for connecting us, and you are now part of the IRTS family, whether you want to be or not.
Yep, that's right.
Or is it the reverse? Is the reverse and brings you in? Okay, something like that. But thank you very much, bro. I hope you had a good time, man.
I did. I had a great time here, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Last year, I want to take us home.
You know what? Let's do some of his stuff. How about that?
Okay.
How about that? One of my favorites. This has
been a blast, man.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
All right, here we go.
And Jerry, this is one of your favorites too.
Okay.
IRTS Live is brought to you by CDove HR Consulting Group, the human resources specialist, providing personalized service to building a better tomorrow. Enjoy the difference. Lifelong Medical Care, offering free vaccines for everyone 12 and over. Call Lifelong at 510-549-5454 or visit lifelongmedical.org. Check out gdovedesigns.com to get t-shirts and hoodies that make a statement. Join DJs Big Russ and CJ Flash for the world-famous show live Fridays, noon to 4 Pacific. Catch them on the following social media platforms. And if you'd like to join us as a sponsor, please email us at info@irtsshow.com.